What is up, YouTube? Today is just Steafen alone, and I am doing a deck profile on one of my favorite decks I threw together a while ago. This deck is called Kitchen Sink. Well, not really that anymore because I've cut out a lot of the other stuff I used to run in the deck, and now it's more close to just being a dinosaur frog deck, featuring a bunch of really annoying cards that just make your opponent not have as much fun playing the game because you're just cranking out really awesome plays. So let's start with the first card on this deck list. We have Miglo Smasher X. This card is used in this deck over any of your other vanillas because it's a water type, it's level 4, and it's got 2000 attack, and it's a great target for special summoning out of the deck with Rescue Rabbit. We're also running him because of what I mentioned before of him being a water, and we can discard him with Swap Frog to special summon the Swap Frog. This gives us more fuel for our frog to eat, and effectively special summon himself to get the Ronin Totems to the grave so that we can make Totally Awesome. Because I like the card Totally Awesome. So then it comes to the next target for Rescue Rabbit, Slime Toad. Slime Toad is run just because I love the artwork of him, and there's no other real reason other than I didn't want to run any other dinosaur normal type monsters and kind of dilute the deck more than what it is. I mean, this would be probably the first card to cut from this deck if I were to do any more cuts than what I have done. I just like the artwork, original name, and the flavor text. Next card we run is Giant Rex. I run one copy of it. I started with 3. I really didn't like it at 3. The deck was at 42, so I cut it down 2 copies of Giant Rex and made it a 40 card deck. Giant Rex is great because you can special summon him if he gets banished, which the easiest way to banish him in this deck is to either use Misc Source, which seems unlikely because I have not once resolved this card since I cut the tuner from the deck, and you can use Ultra Evolution Pill to banish him, which will get us to Ultimate Conductor, which we'll talk more about that later. But he's in here because he's really good to banish, and he opens up way more plays than what you've had before. Next up, we have Misc Source. This card is just good at stopping your opponent from doing random board wipes on their turn or your turn on the main phase 1 typically. I feel like he could almost be cut for something else, but I haven't figured out what to do yet, and I might just go back to the synchro version of this deck. It's hard to say at this point. This is a really early draft of this deck. Next card we run, Solenoviraptor. We run this because he searches every dinosaur in the deck and either adds it to the hand or sends it to the grave. This opens up the whole entire deck to plays of searching out Ultimate Conductor Tyranno or sending your Giant Rex to the grave so that you can banish it with Ultra Evolution Pill or Double Evolution Pill or Ultimate Conductor. And then when you do this, if you still have the Oviraptor on the field, you can make rank 4 plays, which is pretty important to this deck. The next card we have is Gedan. I like this card, that's why I'm writing it, and it's a water type. I had the Jirac card in here before, but then it kind of conflicted with the Star Boy, so I switched to Gedan and lost 100 attack, but in the long run, it's a really good card for feeding your Swap Frog, and he can be a 1-card rank 4 play by himself if you destroy a monster by battle. It's happened once or twice to me. The next card I play is Rescue Rabbit. This card is just for the 6 vanilla cards you run in this deck, because he's a really good turn 1 play, or he's a good turn 2 play to bait out your opponent's cards. Because he is a card that has to be answered, because if he's not answered, you get either Evilsaur Lagia or Evilsaur Dolka from the deck, or you even get a Totally Awesome with your Slime Toads. He's a really good card, love his artwork. That's pretty much why this whole deck was made, because most of the cards in this deck are all my favorite artworks. That's pretty shallow how this deck is. Next card you run is Swap Frog. This card is pretty key to playing the deck because he mills a bunch of cards that you really don't need in the deck, like your Dupe Frogs and your Rontons, and he's really good at just special summoning himself out there so that you have targets to destroy with your Ultimate Conductor Tyranno or making Totally Awesome. I like frogs, so that's mostly why he's in here. That's Dupe Frog you run because he can be special summoned off the Totally Awesome, and he's more fuel for your Ronin Totem too, because Ronin Totem's going to eat up your dupe frogs and swap frogs in your grave to special summon himself to give you more Totally Awesome plays. Or you can banish one frog from your grave to summon Ronin Totem so that you can play an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno's effect to set your opponent's monsters face down. He's kind of just like a flex play, and he also makes Miss Starboy really easily, which gives you more extra deck monster slots, which I haven't found to be really useful yet in this deck, but this is really early on in testing of it, and yeah, pretty good. I mean, pretty standard frog stuff you're running here. Next card that we're running is Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. This deck literally is all about turboing out Ultimate Conductor Tyranno and Totally Awesome. If you get both of them on the field, you're almost guaranteed to beat your opponent because it's hard to break the one negation you get from Totally Awesome and the fact that Ultimate Conductor Tyranno attacks everything that he can and he sets things face down with his effect. You don't get very much value off of his effect unless you're popping dupe frogs that you've set the turn before or have face up on the field from your Totally Awesome. Because if you pop a dupe frog with him, you get to search for a swap frog from the grave or the deck, which is pretty cool. I run one copy of Unexpected Die because it's an unexpected card, and it gives you first turn Totally Awesomes if you open up a Ronin Totem or dupe frog and no swap frog, or it gives you a turn 1 Evil Sword Dolka or Lagia if you open up a Dinosaur level 4 and this card. It's just a really good card overall. Plus, I like the artwork. Next card you run is Ultra Evolution Pill, and the only reason why I'm running frogs in this deck is because I couldn't think of any other awesome cards to run with these dinosaurs to make the deck really work very well. So, Ultra Evolution Pill banishes one dinosaur monster and one non-dinosaur monster from your hand or graveyard to special summon one level 7 or higher dinosaur monster from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So this gets out Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, immediately. It's just pretty good, and it combos very well with Giant Rex, who will special summon himself after being banished. So the deck likes to fuel its own plays for itself. Fossil Dig is the next card that you run. I like Fossil Dig because it searches. I can't really feel like there's any way to really explain this other than it fetches you Soleidine Oviraptor, which can then get you to Ultimate Conductor Tyranno or any of the other dinosaurs that you might need at that moment. But you can also search for Giant Rex with the Fossil Dig, and that will give you plays into double or Ultra Evolution Pill, which can banish your Giant Rex to special summon more things. Really utility card, and most dinosaur decks I think are running 3 Fossil Digs, so that's how to explain that. Running 2 Twin Twisters because this deck does not like back row, and it's fine with having a discard because you run plenty of cards in this deck that like being discarded, that it's perfectly fine to discard a card to destroy 2 spells and trap cards. If this card didn't like discarding so much, I probably would run Cosmic Cyclones instead, but for now, Twin Twisters seem to do the job. I run 2 Solemn Strikes because if you get out an Ultimate Conductor Tyranno or a Totally Awesome, it's nice to have backup for them to be protected from monster effects or special summonings that might be able to out them somehow. Just a really utility card in particular, and Totally Awesome backed up by 2 Solemn Strikes or a Solemn Strike and just a Solemn Warning is a pretty good play. Or even Ultimate Conductor Tyranno backed up by those. And I play Solemn Warning because it outs a lot of cards in the meta right now, because it just stops them from being summoned. So it's a pretty good card. I do not know how to explain Solemn Warning more than it's just a card you run. The deck runs, as you obviously see, only 3 traps because this deck is also fine at going first or second. Going first, I imagine if I knew I was going first, I'd probably have more traps aside into the deck, assuming that I was on game 2 or 3, but that'll be some video for later. The next card that I run in my extra deck is Yugioh the Lightning. He is literally your out to anything that could be annoying you that's too big that your ultimate Conductor Tyranno just can't deal with. He's just pretty good out to a lot of cards, because he also stops effects from being activated during the attack declaration that he declares. So, he's good. You run the Utopia so you can get the Utopia the Lightning out. Green generic. I run Evilsaur Lagia and Dolka. I run one copy of each. It's almost arguable that I might stop running the Lagia and just run 2 Dolka instead. But I haven't quite figured it out yet, because Lagia is just pretty much a worse version of Solemn Warning and Strike. And maybe Judgment, but he's okay. I mean, he stops spells and traps and summonings, but there's probably better ways to deal with things right now. And then you run Dolka because he just sits there and negates effects. He's pretty good. I don't know how to explain more in detail why I run Dolka, other than mostly I like the artworks too. So, don't know why I'm running number 41. Everyone seems to be running it. I don't think I've really encountered many situations where I want to play it, but might as well have it, because I'll probably encounter a situation where I want to run it. I run Tornado Dragon because, once again, this deck doesn't like back row, so it's really easy to just make Tornado Dragon to bait out a spell or a trap card that they have set, and then just use his effect to destroy something else too, or just make them strike and or warning hit. I mean, Pendulum decks just have to out this card typically, or else you're going to ruin their day. Costel is probably the best way to remove any face-up card on the field, because it just puts it right back into the deck, which is arguably more sealing for or locks your opponent out of playing that card again in the game effectively. I mean, not completely, but if you're shuffling it back into the main deck, typically it just seals the card away for a while, which is pretty good. You throw it back in the extra deck, it could be bad if it's something that they can run again, but if you make Costel, you're typically going for either a win play or you're already losing. He's not really a mid kind of guy that you run in this deck. He's more win or lose situations. I run Abyss Dweller because there's a lot of decks out there that like using the graveyard, and this deck doesn't really interact very well with the graveyard when my opponent's doing it, so sometimes turn 1 Abyss Dweller is just really good of play to detach and like, nah, you don't get to do anything in your grave. That, and I mean, I think everyone else who can make rank 4s is running this card. I'd hope they'd be, because it's a pretty powerful card. We're running Totally Awesome because we're running the Frog Engine, and Totally Awesome negates things. Plus, I like the name of the card. It's pretty cool. I run 2 of them so that I'm not locked into having to constantly put the one that I summoned back into the extra deck, and I can fetch any other water monster, which a lot of this deck is water monsters, back to the hand to make more plays if he gets killed, or I use his effect tributing himself to take something. He's pretty good. Run to Code Talker because I needed 15 cards in the extra deck. Don't even know why I'm running this. Running Mr. Boy because he powers up the water monsters, and you run a lot of water monsters, and opening up 2 slots is pretty good. Plus, I like the mustache and top hat. It's a pretty cool card. Run Proxy Dragon because, well, I imagine there's a situation where I get out Proxy Dragon, which is pointing to another card, and I can destroy a Ronin Totem instead of my ultimate Conductor Tyranno getting destroyed. I guess I really don't know why I'm running Proxy Dragon, I'll be honest. He's just there. So, that's pretty much my deck profile. Maybe I'll have some footage of me playing the deck later, but that's all. This is also the first deck profile I've ever done, so that will be it. Catch you guys next time.